Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Aqueduct. It's a sunny Saturday here at the Big A. The temperature will top out at around 40 degrees. The main track is fast. The turf courses are firm. The portable rail is up on the inner turf at 18 feet, and no portable rail on the outer turf. No carryover in the pick six, and right now we'll take a look at the day's changes. In today's first race, a rider change will be announced for number 3, Talendos. Rider change to be announced. Number 5, Senora Loca, make the rider Jose Lascano. Jose Lascano on the 5, Senora Loca. And scratch 11, River Oaks, 12, Kosuki, 14, Gifted, 15, Lucky Combination, and 16, My Betsy. Scratch 11, 12, 14, 15, and 16. In the second race, there are no changes. In the third race, a rider change on the 6, Ocean Atlantique, to Joel Rosario. Rosario rides the 6. Scratch the 8, 235. Scratch number 8, 235. In the fourth race, rider change on the 5, Meline, to Dylan Davis. Dylan Davis will ride number 5, Meline, in race 4. There are no changes in the fifth. Moving on now to the sixth race. Number 5, Dante's Fire. The jockey is Kendrick Carmouche. Kendrick Carmouche rides the 5. Scratch the 6, Good Medicine. Scratch the 6. A rider change on the 11, Quiet Out East, to Jorge Vargas Jr. Jorge Vargas Jr. rides the 11. And also scratch 12, I Am the Law, and 13, Curlin's Wisdom. Sixth race, scratch 6, 12, and 13. The seventh race is the Gio Ponte Stakes. A rider change on the 5, Wicked Fast, to Joel Rosario. Joel Rosario will ride the 5. Scratch number 10, Be Better. Scratch the 10 out of race 7. In the eighth race, scratch number 6, Jet Speed. Scratch the 6. There's a rider change. On number 8, Salute to America, make the jockey Javier Castellano. Javier Castellano on the 8, Salute to America. In today's ninth race, scratch 1A, Exfiltration. Scratch 2, Sweet Maeve. Scratch the 14, Lisa's Vision, and the 15, Lucky Latkes. Scratch 1A, 2, 14, and 15. And the jockey for number 8, Bustin' Bullet, is now Manny Franco. Manny Franco rides number 8, Bustin' Bullet, in the ninth. And in today's 10th and final race, a rider change will be announced for number 9, Maddie's Grace. Jockey change to be announced on the 9, Maddie's Grace. Main track is fast. Turf courses are firm. We will be back at 11:20 to recap the changes. First race post today is at 11:50 a.m. Up next, Serling, Stabile, Talking Horses.
Morning, everyone. Welcome to Talking Horses. He's Anthony. I'm Andy on a Saturday here, a 10-race card. A whole lot to talk about. The scratches just came out. Got the scratches in. Everything good. You need to head over to NYRA Bets. Complete the circle. Become a member of NYRA Bets. Head to NYRABets.com. Use the promo code MATCH200. Match for $200. Well, you know, the whole thing, right? The card, 10 races, everything.
Wow.
It's all an empty feeling.
I'm leaving it to you, man.
Get rid of that empty feeling. Sign up for NYRA Bets. We have a pick 4, starts in race 4 today of our 10-race card. We have a $25 bonus, I believe, if you bet Laurel, Churchill, and Aqueduct, $175 more on each.
Full plays up for Aqueduct, and there's bonus plays up for Churchill and Laurel to help you get to that bonus.
And finally, we're on from 11:30 to 6:30. On a Churchill action. Churchill runs till midnight, but we're only going to show their first 17 races today.
Well, they got 38.
We're going to send our best wishes to our friend Trevor McCarthy.
Yes.
Hopefully he is on the mend, but don't have anything to report to you on that. But obviously, Trevor, important part of the team around here, and a good friend of mine as well. But like any rider, hope he is able to recover.
Hope to see him sooner rather than later, for sure.
All right, race number 1. We are on the turf for race number 1. Oh, you found another horrible overbet Chad Brown favorite. Maybe you can get as lucky as you did yesterday and run down an 11-1 shot of mine. That's
Sorry,
100 lengths the best.
I apologize for running that horse down. I do.
What
I had nothing to do with
what
it,
running is
just
this
so
horse
you know.
done at 2-1 and 4-5?
Listen, this horse took a bunch of money first 2 times.
And ran badly.
Ran against a couple of horses that came back to win. And I'm just hoping that, like yesterday, this horse kind of found their friends.
Well, this is a pretty competitive field. I'm going to have to disagree with that.
Okay.
This horse did have a little bit of trouble in the stretch the first time out, but couldn't have got a more perfect trip last time out and absolutely stunk the joint up and did no running at 4-5. I have no idea what would like about this horse, and I thought there was so much more going on in this race. In fact, I would guess that the other Chad Brown horse probably much more interesting and near tangential. There's not a ton of turf on the second family, but it is a Justify, and he's a scat daddy, and I wouldn't be surprised if Justify, much like American Pharaoh, if he has success at sire, it ends up being more in the turf department. So I'm going to use that horse as well. But I like the number 6 here, Quarrel. I don't see anything wrong with this horse. This horse has been meant for turf since day one. He's a half to Daunt, who's a very successful turf horse, or pretty successfully won here recently the other day, actually, in a 1 3/8. Distance shouldn't be a problem. It's a Speightstown. This horse obviously has ability. Ran well first time, not so well the second time. But turf is the surface that you want for this horse. I thought Quarrel was the right horse in this race. What about the 2, Justifiable Bell? Didn't he lose to a much better horse in Jajera?
She did.
So what's?
I thought she had a good trip that day.
She did.
I thought there were a couple of horses that didn't have good trips. I cannot remember the 4th place finisher.
Well,
I think came
didn't
back
Haystack
to win.
have a good trip though in her race and just do no running? And what running did she do last time? She was awful.
No, she got into a little shoving match.
No, she was bad.
Yeah, I think she did.
She was bad. Feel free to watch it. You can see it. The horse that I was not that interested in here, that I thought might take some money, was Self-Confident.
Sure.
Why am I the number 4?
Agreed.
Neither of us have this horse in anywhere, and ran well first time out at Kentucky Downs before not running well at Churchill. I didn't love the last race. I thought it was a weak field last time out. And I know this horse has raced and has run well, but this was a favorite that I didn't want any part of, or a short price.
It's actually 6-1 on the morning line. David has this horse.
She's 3-1 now. Maybe she will be 6-1.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll fall
6-1.
for your horse again. They're going to overbet these Chad Brown horses. Maybe they'll get lucky like yesterday, but it's always possible. But
Yeah, this was the one that kind of had the. I mean, could this horse have dreamed up a better trip than she had last time?
I thought both races were very weak. I thought it was just a bad field the first time out at Kentucky Downs, particularly bad field, and I thought there was so much more going on in this race. Race number 2. What's going on in race number 2? What's the story with Splashy?
Half to Bourbon Bay and Brattle House, both okay. Brattle House a little more precocious. She galloped here first time out. I was not thrilled with I mean, Slow Down Summer ran pretty well first time. Ran well on the turf last time. But, she's got to go to the dirt. She's a
You're
war
picking
dancer.
the 2 as a war
No,
dancer?
I put her second.
You got her over the 8?
Well, I picked the race 3-2-8. She's just a faster horse. She's just a better horse, and maybe she's not any good on the dirt. But Central Speed. There was a little push on Central Speed first time out. No, she had a little bit of a trip. The truth of the matter is, that race did not come back very quick, and that fig came back out really, really low, Andy. So listen. I think they'll probably flip-flop in price, or at the very least be very similar in price. David has them half a point apart. I'd rather the faster horse and see if she can dirt. And I know it's a war dancer. I get it. But she's just been so much faster in her 2 races than Central Speed.
I'd certainly like to book every cent bet on Slow Down Summer in this race. And, the 1 in 10 horses that are over bet based on turf figures in these races that run okay is not going to cover for the kind of prices they are. She'll be a shorter price based on that fig. I hear you on Central Speed's race. It did come up slow. I don't disagree. We'll show the beginning of the race. We'll show early parts and late parts. We'll show the beginning, the pan and head-on of this horse. We'll start by showing the head-on. It's number 10. It's going to come in and kind of get bumped a little bit and sort of taken out of the race a little bit early. And you'll see when we show the pan how far back this horse actually ends up. And I think it's important to note. And I'm not saying she would have won, she would have won, or necessarily, or how good a race it was, but got a horse that's a heavily bet first-time starter. And keep in mind, she was bet into the face of the winner of the race, who was a Chad Brown-Klarovich horse, who was a very short price. And they just kept betting away on this horse. And here she ends up settling back 6-7 lengths behind, makes a big middle move to rush up there on the outside before understandably tiring at the end. So I get it. I don't disagree. And you can use that old adage, there's no trips in slow races. But this is a much better effort.
I hear what you're saying.
I do agree with that, but okay. But I don't think that necessarily this horse's performance makes it a slow race. This horse probably can run a lot better than that, and I think it'll be a big factor in here. But personally, I want Good Morning Kiss. This, to me, is exactly the kind of Linda Rice horse that you want as a second-time starter. A horse that's a half to I Love Jackson, that has no turf pedigree to speak of, and she runs in the turf first time out. Shows a little bit of speed and tires, and now goes the right surface. To me, this horse has the earmark of a kind of second-time starter for Linda Rice that you want in these races. And truthfully, I'm not really scared of anybody. I don't think the 8's a killer. I hear you on the 3. It's a first-time starter. Don't know anything about it, as you said. Is a half to a couple horse could run. This is a flatter. $200,000 for a flatter with that pedigree. Not a huge purchase price, but not a small purchase price. And Christoph's dangerous with first-time starters, so I won't be surprised if this horse is a runner here. But I'm going to go to Good Morning Kiss, and I'll use with Central Speed and Splashy. And if Slow Down Summer runs first or second, I will lose.
Yeah, horse was bred by Christoph and then bought away from him. See that? And given to him.
Think there's a little story in there?
I don't know.
Anyway, that's race number 2. Race number 3. Number 3 thought was an interesting race because I think it's a race full of very, very vulnerable horses. They're going to be short prices, and one of them is the 3 Analyzer, who we both have second. The second, Sanctuary City, was fine. The race that I really had a problem, we'll take a look at this race here, and this was fine. Sanctuary City's good, and I would argue he's the horse to beat off it, but I don't like the Cliffhanger race. He got an absolutely perfect trip in there and didn't finish. And even when you look at his win last year in October, he had everything his own way against a field that hasn't come back. And Analyze It just feels like one of these horses that had brilliant talent, that because of foot issues and maybe a little bit of distance, but to be fair with you, this horse was very unlucky not to win the Breeders' Cup Turf as a 3-year-old.
The mile.
Yeah, the mile.
Yeah,
the turf mile.
That was bad. And that was 4 years ago.
Yeah,
that race is still on his card, so obviously it's been tough to keep him on the racetrack.
There you go.
Yeah.
And I mean, the Secretariat, the second to Carrick, the close second to Catholic Boy.
Twice.
He's a bit of a snake bit horse, a horse that
yeah.
could be a multiple Grade 1 winner. I think he's the horse to beat, but I'm not overly thrilled with him.
Yeah, back in for the tag today for just the 3rd time in his career, if
about
I'm
to
not
be an
mistaken.
8-year-old, so.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
know,
no, listen.
give him away.
I understand that.
Here's the horse you have on top, and you can tell us why you like this horse.
You know, I wanted to pick my boy Jerry the Nipper, but there's just too much speed in here. You can't trust Analyze It. Call Me Harry's been a confirmed front runner. I don't know if he's fast enough.
What's so good about this horse that
Original
improved
Antique.
with more distance?
Yeah,
Well, he proved with more distance. His races going shorter are not close to being good enough to be competitive.
I'm just hoping I'm hoping it's not necessarily all distance. I'm just hoping he can get a good trip with the speed that looks like it's signed on in the end. I mean, it looks like there's got to be some hitting up front. Even the rail horse, it can be done as fast, and he's drawn the inside with Kendrick. So I'm thinking there has to be some speed in here, and I'm thinking that this horse will kind of trip out a little bit. I don't know. Listen,
He's
the way the
slow
race
and
is
he's gonna
supposed
be
to
overbet,
unfold, if Analyze It shows up, he's going to bury these horses.
Well, I don't agree with any of this, but okay, that's fine. I don't agree if he shows I was buried. I'm going to base him on his form now, and he's a competitor in here. As far as Jerry the Nipper, I thought his last race was atrocious. And I thought his dirt race was bad. I know he ran very well when he won here over the summer, but I'm beginning to think that that was a very firm turf. It's a big weekend for Todd, and he just hasn't run back to it. And I'm not saying he's impossible. I don't disagree. I mean, I've got him 5th in here. I just didn't like him, and there is plenty of speed signed on. I like Cananios quite a bit in this race. I think it's interesting that Brad Cox claimed this horse and cuts back in distance. And you go back to his last race, going back at shorter distance, the race against Safe Conduct. That was a race that was dominated up front. This horse actually outclosed Public Sector that day. And while Public Sector's been a bit disappointing this year, I think he'd fit fairly well in here. We probably both have picked him.
Yes.
And I'm not convinced that this horse needs more distance. And I think it's interesting that Mike Maker, who often claims shorter and goes longer, claims longer and goes shorter. Canano's got, I'm not going to say it was the worst ride at Saratoga because I don't want to take that title away from some others who may have done a lot to earn it. but it's definitely in the running for the 5 worst rides of the meet up there. I mean, this
The last race.
this
It
was about as
atrocious.
atrocious a ride as you can give. And I'm not a Julian. I like Julian. I think he takes a lot of unfair abuse. This was a bad one.
This was deserved
This was
abuse.
no plan and just a horrible ride. And I don't think he ran that badly the time before that. He's going to get pace to run at. I thought Canadians was pretty interesting in race number 3. Race number 4 was a bit of a skull buster. I don't know about you, but I had a lot, like you like to say, I had a lot of trouble with this race. And one of the reasons is the horse that has the big stick out figs here, and we'll start with one of them, and that's Be the Boss. Do we really buy that suddenly this horse has become a high 80s buyer horse? He runs a surprising 81 buyer in a bad field up at Saratoga, wiring the field. And then he comes back with an 88 buyer behind Print Rack. I mean, listen, they put a zillion lengths behind them in the 3rd horse. I have no problem with this fig. I mean, if it's high by 3 points. It's not high by 10. But am I really supposed to trust this horse? And now he goes to another barn. Not that Peter Walter doesn't win races, and not that he was claimed by a barn that's winning a lot of races. I just have no way to trust this horse, and even though he's the horse to beat, and I'm not going to take a big stand against him, I didn't want to pick him on top.
I didn't either. He's the speed. He's going to be in front of these horses. Maybe that's enough.
Well, I don't know how much faster he is than who's riding.
Dylan Davis riding
Dylan's
Moline.
riding the
Nah,
5.
he's faster than Moline, Andy.
Not according to Pace Projector, but okay. But I agree. His pace figures are faster. The question, I guess, is intention of riding. What do you like about Moline?
I think Moline's going to set up shop right off of him. I thought Moline, and I think Moline, despite the mile and a 16th win at Laurel, I think a cutback to this distance.
But what does it mean
is
sitting
going
off of just sitting off of him? What about?
I
So
think
what?
between getting a good trip and cutting back.
We all get good trips. Who's going to get the bad trip here?
And cutting back, I think he's going to benefit from.
The problem with him is, Anthony,
Trip.
that this is a horse that was running in $10,000 claiming races out of town not that long ago. And he's a little bit on the cheaper side, isn't he?
So that's fine. He's also been competitive enough on the circuit, and I felt like his last 2 races made him look. If you don't believe in Be the Boss and those 2 figs, and obviously neither of us completely buy them.
Yeah, I just didn't. I mean, I got this horse 4th out of sort of by default because it's hard to make big. It's hard to make big Venezuela in here, and I kind of given up a little on Blake B, though I could have put that horse 4th instead. And I don't like. We'll show Blue Grotto's win. I mean, where did this come from? Blue Grotto sporadically runs big figs, but he never seems to back them up with subsequent efforts or any good. So I couldn't take him at all in here. I hear you, Moline.
It's not only they're not good, that they're just usually not good next time. He reacts.
My problem with Moline is I don't think he's fast enough on his best race. And his best race is out of town, and it's a 1 number, and there's just horses that are better than them. I mean, listen, Our Country's a little interesting. Our friends at Little Bluebird Stable, find out if those guys are out here today. I mean, this horse ran against much. I mean, you look at the horses Our Country ran against in the dirt. On the other hand, he was claimed back in July to be in the Saratoga meet, and I don't think those guys claimed to be in the Saratoga meet saying, we've got our eye on November, especially for a horse that hasn't had a heavy workload. It'd be one thing if you claimed this horse back then and you say, you know what, he's been running for 15 months straight. The winter's a good time to make money with a horse. Let's give him 4 months off. Now,
He's a horse that has a year layoff on his card,
he's
too.
a horse that's hard to keep on the track. But I don't think for me, I can't ignore, and you put him 3rd as well, that this horse ran against significantly better horse than he ran in the dirt.
No question
I
about
mean,
it.
these horses
Doubly
are
blessed.
right.
Advanced Notice was in good form at the time. Lost in Rome was in good form at the time. Tenderfoot was basically unbeatable at the time. Yeah. Back to the turf for the summer and for the spring and summer.
Now here's my
The layoff has to bother because you're exactly right. These guys aren't. You're not claiming a horse on July 22nd at Saratoga and hoping not hoping you're not going to run another once or maybe twice at Saratoga. And they don't run until November 18th, 19th.
As far as Endowed, ultimately I went to Endowed because this is a horse that's been a super short price every time he's run, and he was bad last time. And even before Trevor was laid up in hospital, I told him this wasn't your fault. He ran like garbage last time. But he didn't have the best of trips, but it didn't matter. He was
He got checked coming out of the first. He got checked coming out of the
Having
first
said
turn.
all of that, this is a horse that continuously has run figs that are good enough to win this race. And unlike those other races, he's not going to be a super short price today. His price is going to go up. And I think that the 1-turn mile is probably better for him. The fact is that he lost the Lunissima 2 back. But Looney Sema is better than this field. Looney Sema would win this race. And I just think he fits in this race. I think the 1-turn miles might be better than 2 turns for him. His price is going to be good enough. And frankly, I did not want to pick Be The Boss, and I thought he was the second likeliest winner. And so I'll pick him on top because his price will be better. I don't love him. I'm not going to sit here and defend him. Race number 5.
This is there's a lot of buzz around this race.
Well, that would be a lot more buzz than I heard.
Oh, I heard a lot of buzz around this.
Oh, no, I'm not saying there isn't any. I just never hear any.
I heard Index Fund.
Fortunately for me, I don't hear anything.
I heard Index Fund that we both have on top. I heard Todd, the 4 Litigate can run. And I heard that Brad Cox, that the barn thinks very, very highly of the 8 Slip Mahoney.
So they're a little bit early for Cigar Mile Day for all the Grade 1 winners that are apparently in this field.
Yes, sir.
I put up Clubhouse's video because I know people are going to fall for Clubhouse in here. He's got him 8-1. I wanted to show something, so you don't have to look at our ugly faces the entire show. This is exactly the kind of horse you're supposed to bet against. And he also had everything his own way in this race. I thought Active Investing actually ran
Well,
very
people are going to look
in
and see
there.
spikes down out of a Tappet mare. There's
But
really more turf pedigree there.
Except, well, yes and no. The second dam of this horse is Wild Gams. And for those that don't remember the lovely Wild Gams, she was a very good horse for Ben Perkins, who ran triple-digit buyers on both synthetic and dirt. She's mostly a very, very, very good dirt sprinter.
Talking
She's
to
a good
Mary
family.
Eddy and Ryan Martin Naira about Ben Perkins yesterday. Neither one familiar with him. Not surprising. I mean, they're both in their mid-20s,
Well,
early 20s.
No, well, Ryan was very, very quickly reincarnated from Sonny Jips Fitzsimmons, so he should have been around from that. As far as Mary, I don't know. Mary's too excited about the Yankees and Judge winning the MVP and all that nonsense.
Taking Mary and I and a bunch of folks going to see Bulldog Hanover first final start next Saturday.
With Mary, it's either the zoo somewhere or the Yankees.
Racetrack.
The Yankees too.
And the Yankees. We're
I'm
gonna see-
actually a little jealous. She went to Montauk last week. I didn't get an invite.
She told me to ask you to come to the Bulldog next week.
No, I
You won't be in
wanted to go to
town.
Montauk, Mary, and you didn't call. I got no call about Montauk.
Wow.
Montauk, I would have gone.
Got
but
blown out on Talking Horses,
called
Mary.
to go to harness racing.
Yeah, like you've never been to a harness race before.
I spent my entire youth at Saratoga Harness, and I'm proud of it. My favorite horse was Sirota Anderson, who was actually a horse who was one of the invitational horses at Saratoga Harness. They ran the invitational every Saturday night, and the word was if you won it 3 in a row, they kicked you off the ground. So they always stiffed the horse that won it twice in a row, and everybody knew the horse that won twice in a row jiggy jogged and would go up at 5-1. And then one Dan Wilsey won with 1 and had won 2 in a row, and everybody was like, "Oh my God." Probably figured I get the money with him, you know. They kick me out. I'm not going to kick him out anyway. Probably a big myth. Sirota Anderson, a very good horse, and he ended up going down to the Meadowlands. He won a huge race in the Meadowlands, and but he was very good at Yonkers, and he used to run at Yonkers. And my bookie at the time, who has passed away, so I can talk about him, and I used to bet him. He used to every week. He'd say, "Oh, Sirota Anderson running tonight," and he used to win every time. He was like unbelievable. And back in those days, you got the results on CBS at 880 and stuff. And I used to get it. They'd always Sirota Anderson. He was the greatest.
360,
I
360,
think Del
320.
McTavish wrote him up in
Del
Saratoga.
McTavish in the bike. Wow.
Listen, Bill O'Donnell
Bill Magic Man.
came from New England down to Saratoga
I know.
Harness before he went down to Meadowlands. And I mean, the rider switches to him. It was like unbelievable.
He was fantastic. He was great.
Fantastic rider. Anyway, there are all sorts of tips here. I took Index Fund, the 1A over. I actually did hear the win. I think I heard the Index Fund might be good. I think. I'm not even sure. I might have just gotten a workout in the horse.
I heard all three were-
And,
I
but it
heard
might
all
say
three
that
of these
workouts
horses.
is not necessarily good.
I heard you liked all
but
3 of these
seems like
horses.
there are tips on all of them. So maybe the 5th will be an interesting one to watch. It's first half of the card. We'll be back with the rest of the card after a quick break.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.
We are back on Talking Horses. Anthony and Andy, race number 6. I'm not going to make a whole lot of race number 6. I listen. Anything can happen in racing. It's a 1 3/8. We'll take a look at Dripping Gold. I was hoping that Jose would be a little more aggressive. Actually, I was talking to Jose down in the Jackson. We were both talking about the Phil Serpy horse he ran second on. And I said, I thought you were home touch. He said, I turned for home. We took the lead. We were laughing. It's funny. We both thought the horse was home, and then the horse just came and got him. But, I mean, it feels like Dripping Gold, who ran well in here, and Constitution Lawyer, who ran against Tougher, though he did save ground last time, but against Tougher, but I thought ran well in the Shawty race. I mean, if somebody beats these horses,
Hard to get past these two, right?
I couldn't find them. I mean, Tulane, why is he supposed to necessarily be a horse that wants to get better going long? Doesn't feel like Dancing with the Stars gets better with more distance in here.
I put them third and fourth just because I really didn't have anything interesting to...
Donnie's Fire can pick up these. I put Donnie's Fire third because he's run okay going long, and I thought I'd take the Devil You Know, but it just feels that between Dripping Gold and Constitution Lawyer,
one of them has to win.
I don't have to win, but I couldn't find anybody to pick against them.
Put up part of the plays on Naira Bets for the full card to get to the bonuses at Laurel and Churchill as well, $75 at all three. I put a pick 5 ticket up, a $36 ticket. I used the 2 and the 7. More often than not in these big fields, if you want to have a little bit more coverage, I feel real confident I can move the chains with the
By the way,
and they're the two favorites.
In the definition of stupid, missing yesterday's pick 5 because you didn't use Shug in the first leg.
That was me.
So if they have like a definition of stupid on Wikipedia, feel free to put his picture up there.
That was me.
Speaking of which, we come to the 7th race where we're going to have some fun in the 7th race here. And we're going to start out in the 7th race with your top pick, and that's Steady On. And you can talk about, and the Giopante, and I love Giopante.
One of my favorite turf horses of all time.
Feel free to wax poetic about Steady On.
Well, listen, he got 2 gigantic, unbelievably good trips.
And now he's favored against Tougher, and you picked him on top.
I don't think this is that tough of a race.
Okay, well, so he's not running against Tougher here.
I mean, he's running.
I said he's running against Tougher.
He's running against Tougher, but he's not running against that much. This field's not as good as you think it is.
Okay. First of all, you have no idea how good I think this field is. So let's start out with wrong again. So you're going to have, this is like the Anthony was wrong purse.
I mean, Grand Sonata is the most dressed up horse in the race. I don't think Grand Sonata.
No, actually, Anthony, the most dressed up horse in the race is Steady On, and you already told us that. And you actually said something accurate.
No, but I don't think he's I don't think he's dressed up.
Not dressed up.
So
you said he's had 2 of the most perfect trip situations, but he's not dressed up.
I don't think. See, you and I talk about dressed up a little differently. This, you know what?
And so you talk about it differently than they do too.
Well, they're going to come because they're going to see Grand Sonata, grade 2, grade 3, grade 1, grade 1.
Anthony,
200,000.
he's the 2-to-1 morning line with Irad Ortiz coming off 2 dressed-up wins. Could he win this race? It's possible. I doubt it, but it's possible. But he's not the likeliest winner of the 2 top Pletcher horses, and you don't even have the top Pletcher horse in your top 4.
I don't like that horse. I think that horse is. I think he's the dressed-up horse with all the stakes races. He doesn't do a lot of running in his races, unless they're at Gulfstream Park.
Okay, well, I'm happy to disagree with you. He was running against better horses. We'll show him in Wicked Fast last time. Now, listen, they both spent a lot of time on the rail. Wicked Fast got a sensation ride. There's no way that Joel could ride this horse better than Trevor did last time, but he did make a run in there.
When Trevor was riding the courses perfectly.
And Grand Sonata was not on the rail for about the last 5/16 of the race, but he did spend a lot of time inside, so I'm not going to deny he did. But this is just a better field. I mean, Celestial City, McKinnon, these are a lot better horses than the kind of horses Steady On's running. And Steady On is completely dressed up by being on gold rails in 2 straight races, particularly last time where he had everything go his own way. Now, I'm not denying that Steady On is okay. And it's not impossible that he's better than these horses. I don't think it's particularly likely, but it's not impossible. But he's also going to be the 2-to-1 favorite based on dressed up performances. And I disagree about Grand Sonata. I think 1 mile and 5/16 is a little far for him. Sarah Derby was kind of a tough race. He was 30-to-1 that day, and he didn't have the best of trips. Thought he actually ran fine in the Belmont Derby. Was Belmont Derby a great race? No, but it's a better race than this one that he's running in here. And I think this horse is just fine. I think he's kept better company, and I think he's the one that's finally getting some legitimate class relief. I like the 2 horses out of that race. I'm not going to be shocked. I've got Steady On third. I'm not going to fall out of my chair if he wins. I think he's probably the likeliest winner of the horses out of that race. But having said that, I don't think anybody else in this race is particularly competitive. The horses that you have second and third, why don't you tell us why you have second and third coming out of the New York Stallion Series race?
I think Dakota Gold probably came back a little too quick in 3.5 weeks last time.
We can show the Dakota Gold
And
race.
he got real lucky on the front end. There was another speed in the race from Jersey that never went, and he was able to go 49 to the half and walk the dog. And it severely hampered Marinara Sauce, who had no chance in a paceless race, and he got beat a length. So if I'm gonna, and I like Dakota Gold as a horse. So if I like Dakota Gold, I kind of at 5 to 1. I gotta use the other horse at 35 to 1. And when I think the other horse might benefit from a little bit more ground and a better pace scenario.
You
again.
didn't like Dakota Gold up in Saratoga. Now you like him.
No, I picked him flip-flopped. I flip-flopped him last time. I thought he was coming back too quick, and I still.
Well, he wasn't, but-
I still think he was, but he was just better.
but-
I think
Back at almost exactly the same time he came back the time before. I don't
no, it
understand
was
what
5 weeks the time before, Andy.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was.
No.
June to July is 33, 34 days.
No, also known as 31 days. So it's actually closer to 4 weeks.
June
than it is-
19th to July 21st is 33 or 34 days.
No, it's not. You can keep saying it, but it's not. June has 30 days in it. You can keep saying it. It's fine. But it's not 33 or 34 days. But it's fine.
32 days.
Okay, you want to keep saying it's fine. But having said that, I think that's nonsense. But that's fine. You want to go with that, it's
Okay.
fine. But this is a horse that rode an absolute gold rail and was awful last time. This is a horse that closed in a race that's turned out to, other than the winner, be an eyesore of a race, last year's Breeders' Cup race, and a race that completely fell apart. And he's running. He's never run well this year. He got a bias last time out. He lost to practice squad 2 back. He lost to, you know, Marinara Source also rode the gold rail before angling out. Now, Marinara Source has no chance in here. He's silly. If somebody thinks that Dakota Gold can win and they're willing to bet him in the 5 to 1 range and they don't use Marinara Source 30 to 1, that I think is silly because Marinara Source showed in that race. But he was also in Chad Brown's barn. I know now it's Mitch Friedman, who to you is now Chad Brown just with a different name, which is fine. But to me, there's 2 things going on in this race. You're supposed to bet against the 8 at 2 to 1. Not impossible. If you want to use them protectively, depending on liking some long shots in that races, that's fine. But in this race, you're supposed to bet against him. And Dakota Gold's a joke. He's just ridiculous in here. I don't see what race he's run that's competitive.
Okay.
I don't get him at all. And the other thing is,
So 2 versus 6 then.
how many lunches do you want? We're at 121. How many lunches do you want to bet? I'll take 2 over 6.
Dude, we could go for 3 lunches.
Okay. All right. Now, Churchtown. We'll talk about Churchtown, the rail. I don't think Churchtown is bad. I'd certainly rather bet him than Dakota Gold at a much better price. I wonder, though, if he really wants to go this far. And overall, he's also not supposed to get the lead in here because Riot House and even the 8 in this race, Steady On, are potentially faster. So I'm not, he's kind of horse you might want to try to make wire the field. It's interesting with Roger Atfield. He's shipped 3 horses to Acton for the last 5 years. He's run 7th with all 3 of them. 5 to 1, 6 to 1, and 7 to 1. I don't know. I would have thought he shipped here and had more success. We don't see him that often. I don't think he's impossible in here. The more I looked at him, I just
Were
didn't think
they
he was quite
all
good
in
enough.
the Long Island or the Red Smith?
I think one was in the Red Smith. No, there probably were races going longer. I don't think they were all in those. I thought about that. I think only one was in the Red Smith. And I think I bet him, and he ran 7th. See what happens. I even think the 402 whatever. I'm not going to get overly.
035. Don't say whatever. People take time to name their horses.
Yeah, they should find other names. But
It's a zip code.
Whatever. They're annoying names, and we all know. He was lucky, and he sucked up 2 races back. I didn't think it was totally impossible. It's an interesting race. You and I saw it completely differently. Race number 8. Take a look at the horse you have on top, Abundant Honor, winning 2 races back, and you can say why you like him here.
I just thought the cutback would help him as well. He found himself on a lead last time, going the 9 furlongs. Here he is, just gobbling horses up and rolling away, going this 1-turn mile for 40. And now John Kimmel does what he's supposed to do. You break the maiden for 40, and now he's basically in for the. I think there might be one lower level, but if the race doesn't go for the 2 life, he cut him in half essentially and ran him in the condition claiming race. This is what you're supposed to do. He's in the right spot.
Okay. I think the reason to like Abundant Honor, I see it differently than you, is that he was pretty close to a bad rail for the majority of the race last time out, and he's way the horse to beat in here. And he's obvious. He's going to be favored.
Very
I
obvious,
assume.
yeah.
And but he also spent almost the whole race last time on the rail. So I don't think the distance or the whole thing matters. I think what happened last time was being on the rail that really affected him, and it's why he didn't run as well as he ran the time before. And while he got a perfect trip the time before, being wide. But the thing is that Emperor's Cause also spent an enormous amount of time on the rail, dead rail in that race. And he gets a rider switch to Jose Ortiz. No knock on Heman Archie. He's been riding well. But Jose Ortiz is a better rider. Heeman hasn't won an Eclipse yet. Jose has. And the other thing is, I think it's between the 2 and 3 in here. No question about it. And I do think the 3 is a more likely winner. But I think the 2's price is going to be commensurate enough that I'd rather bet on him at twice the price, because I don't know if they'll be 3-1 and 9-2. And even at 3-1, 9-2,
No, you feel like Abundant Harbor's
I feel like he's going to be closer to 2-1,
Yeah.
and Myers could be as much as 5-1. I'm not sure, because I don't know really where else to go in here. The funny thing about Breadman is, Rennie Personas has great numbers off the claim on the dirt, so I didn't want to completely throw him out. And after that, I mean, where are you supposed to go in this race?
I thought Mr. Candy Ride was a little interesting. He had that one big fig on a wet track, but overall, I think his fast track races were better. I know that they were against better.
He's a better wet track horse, but if he's anything, but I don't think it matters. But he only has one race.
What is he a better wet track horse based
Anthony,
on?
if you didn't like him, you would say he's better than a wet track.
How would I say that?
Because he has an 80B, his biggest fig by far
I
is on
said
a wet track.
there's one fig on his car on the wet track.
Okay.
That overall his form is better on fast track. He ran an 82 first time out.
Okay, so you're very selective about how you feel about
I'm not
these wet tracks.
That's a fact. That was a fact.
Okay.
And he was first off a long layoff. He picks up a rad today.
But those races were almost 3 years ago, Anthony. The races we were talking
Yeah,
about
3
running those
years
bigger
ago. I
races.
know they were.
His last 2 races are desperately bad races.
Well, the last race, one race was off a voided claim and he disappeared for 8 months, and then the other race he came back, and I thought he ran.
62 Beyer? Since
Listen,
Beyers are
he
important
obviously
here.
needed the race.
Well, I don't know. He obviously did. He might not be able to run anymore. I mean, I'm not. Listen, I've got him 3rd or 4th. I'm not saying he can't win, but if you wanted to go facts, he ran poorly before the layoff. Then he came back, and the voided claim thing is tricky. I get it. He was off 8 months, but as we know, horses come back from voided claims and win all the time. Full voided claim. But how about that horse yesterday, Eben, who apparently now is headed towards the Cigar Mile? He had a voided claim yesterday. He won by 6, but the claim was voided. All right. Okay. Yeah, that's
Did you
helping
see him
people.
come back after the race?
Doesn't matter. That's not helping anybody. None of it's helping anybody.
If that's the rule, I don't agree. I agree with you 100%.
It's not
See, I have a different rule. You claim, you claim.
I agree.
That's part of the game.
I agree. I think that is a rule that its heart was well meant, but it's not being
It hurts more than it
executed.
helps.
It's not helping. We'll see what happens in race number 8. Race number 9. Race number 9. We'll take a look at Patrick. I just want to compliment you on something here. You must have cried when you didn't write down Tizapity on top. You must have cried, seriously.
I've been staying away from these horses. I
No,
told
you
you
haven't.
that.
You made one of the worst favorite picks yesterday. One of the most luckiest horses ever to be put up for second. 2-1 on that Frank's Honor. Ooh, that made the worst favorites in the history of racing. But at least eight horses you got put up in a DQ, which, while justified, wasn't logical because the horse who ran second was going to be second.
Yes, correct. Never happens if the
So
incident
you
doesn't happen
prefer
in the race
Patria
before.
in this race? So
Yeah, I'm just hoping that Kendrick puts her on the front end and just
not
keeps
sure where else
going.
you could put her.
Yeah, that's what I'm just hoping that she's faster than anybody else in here by a long, long way.
No, she's not. But this race was faster.
Who's closer?
Well, she hasn't.
It's a lone turf. It's a lone turf race.
Smoking Hot Kitty could go if they were super aggressive with her. She's not. She's a funny horse because she's not a blistering.
Smoking Hot Kitty. I'll say what you would say to me right now. If Jose Loscano came out on a dead send with a rocket on her tail,
Anthony.
yeah, she'd be able to keep up with this horse.
Anthony.
This horse is one turf race on a good turf. She was flying on the front end.
Anthony, you don't look at pace figures.
I don't need to look at pace figures,
Yes,
but I can see that
Anthony,
the horse is
you do need to look
flying on the front end in one turf race.
You do need to look at pace
I
figures.
don't need to look at pace figures.
Choose not to look at pace figures to your detriment. But
You're telling me that Smoking Hot Kitty could keep up with the 6 if she wanted to?
Yes, as could Serenade Soldier. But I don't think she will, and I think the 6 will be in front as well. But the thing about her is she's not that fast. She's fast. She's got speed. She's not a bullet. She's not that fast. 21-3 isn't flying.
On that ground, we got a lot of rain on that turf course.
Okay, we're gonna agree to disagree. We're gonna do disagree. I also think she'll probably be in front, but I won't be shocked if she's not.
I'll be shocked if she's not.
Okay, I know. You're shocked by a lot of things I'm not shocked by. It's fine. But I do think she'll be in front, but I don't think she has to be. I think a super aggressive ride by somebody else, it wouldn't be that shocking. I don't think she has the kind of edge that some horses do in races. I also do think she'll probably be in front in this race. And I picked her second, and I won't be surprised when she wins. And I also think she's going to be a shorter price than the horse that I picked in this race because she has that speed and is perceived to have that speed. And as far as Master of the Tunes, I know she doesn't win. She ran a pretty good race here at 6 furlongs right around this time last year on December 3rd, so she has handled this kind of turf well, and I do want to talk about it for a second. This was 2 races back. It's not Dylan's fault, but she was about a week the best. And a week the best against the worst Spongy, who came back in stakes.
Yeah.
Who came back in stakes and ran really well. This was a terrific effort. It's just because of the post position. If you switch the post position, she could have gotten a trip more like Spongy and she would have won. Now, having said that, she's 1 for 17, but they put air between themselves and the others in here. And then it wasn't Saratoga, but if you want to do the worst 5 races of the last 6 months in New York,
It's one of the most brutal
she's
trips.
in there
Yep.
with this. This was one of the most just wow. I mean, this was a gold rail, and she spent the entire race on the other course. I mean, it was insane. So I just think that she's a little interesting, and I thought she'd be a slightly better price. David's usually right, but I guessed
you're right.
when
I think they'll be
and then I
flip-flop.
saw his prices and said maybe I should have gone 6.9. I don't have a. To be honest with you, I'd like whichever one's a bigger price. I don't disagree with 6 to be in front. I don't think those 6 has as big a potential pace advantage as you think she does. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm saying is you should be shocked if she's not cruising on the lead here. Even though I do think she'll be in front. And you're right, she has the rider that sends. So, and you know Kendrick's not going to come in around 4 and around. So, assuming she doesn't, I mean, anyone get in trouble at the start.
Right.
I want to use the 13 a little bit, Dufresne, who gets in. Well, this horse I liked last time, obviously, turned out to be a bad opinion. Having said that, Maggie didn't like this horse last time, I remember, in the paddock.
She ran 2 steps.
And we were talking, because I think I could have this wrong, but I feel like Maggie was sort of like, I kind of agree with Andy, I kind of like this horse, but I don't like what I'm seeing here. And Source was coming off a little over 2 months, and a lot of times Maggie will say, and maybe she won't, maybe she'll say, I didn't like this horse last time, and I don't like her again today. But sometimes you hear, a lot of times you hear Maggie say, I didn't like this horse last time, Bushy looks better today, or he looks better today. So I think this horse makes a lot, this horse, you're going to tell me the race 2 back, going a mile? This horse can't compete in a race like this?
Sure.
Because, to be honest with you, I've had enough of Tis a Pity. I'm not saying she's not. But besides the 6 and the 9, is there really anybody here that's that appealing to you? I mean, you and I've got the 8 in there somewhere. Do you really want to bet Busted Bullet here?
Manny Franco on the 8, by the way. No, I don't.
Anthony, please. It's Manuel.
Manny's on the 8. Was there a rider for the Durad? Okay.
How could you say that with a straight face and not expect me? Anthony and I have a lot of jokes that take place off camera.
Off camera.
Occasionally we like
we have
to.
a lot of time on hands.
Yes, two guys with Talking Horses brought to you with 2 guys with a lot of time in their hands. Race number 10. We basically agree in race number 9. I think Dufresne is a little interesting to throw in, that's all. And, signs inside to outside. I don't mind these outside posts and the turf sprints, though the rails did come down, but I thought the outer played perfectly fairly in the couple races yesterday with the rails down. So, you know what really I'm most disappointed about the 10th race today?
No.
That Maggie isn't a better horse.
Maggie T.
No, Maggie, the 4.
There's Maggie and a Maggie T.
Yeah, I hope they're in a stretch duel, Johnny. Hey, speaking of
That's
Maggie
not-
T,
that's not
speaking
nice.
of Maggie T, what the guy's abandoning us. By the way, he's doing Talking Horses with you in December. That's gonna be great.
I wanted to announce that, Andy. Yes, December 17th.
Gee, sorry.
December
Who knew it
17th.
was such a big? You know what? It'll probably be a headline
Are
in
you
the
kidding me?
Post.
Wasn't he one of the originals?
Yeah, I've done Talking Horses with Johnny quite a few times back in the day. The
Yes.
original, you know the original? Who are the original Talking Horses people?
You and Watchmaker?
Incorrect.
Did I get half of it right?
Yes.
So Watchmaker,
And one of our favorite guys who unfortunately is no longer with us.
Dave Liffen?
No, Dave was not working for
Harvey?
No. We'll show Maggie T's replay while Anthony tries to figure out who Rich McCarthy was, the infamous Wolfie.
Wow.
I mean, here the guy is gone and you've forgotten him. Wolfie, wherever you are, I did not forget you. A wonderful
Whatever
man.
he is, he's probably shorting a pot in a poker game. That's what he's
Wolfie?
doing to us upstairs. Oh, yeah, he's shorting the pot.
Wolfie and I used to go to the movies. Wolfie and I, you know what movie Wolfie and I saw together? We saw Crumb, the documentary about Robert Crumb, the film festival together. Yeah, Wolfie
He was a character. Another
Wolfie was
racetrack
great.
character
Wolfie
gone too
was,
soon.
if you knew Wolfie, you remember Wolfie, and you liked Wolfie. He was
Absolutely.
quite a great racetrack character.
Absolutely.
He really was. I show this race because I bet the winner came back on the rail
Oh, of
miraculously.
course you did.
Well, we always
So-
show we
so
always show
victory lap.
we always show videos of horses we bet that take brutal beats. It seems like way
You
more
always
often.
show videos.
No, it's true. Well, you don't show any videos, but so anyway, I didn't bet it. I know it's a terrible field. You've taken Charlie Baker. I have second. Go
Yeah,
ahead. We got a minute.
blinkers off. Blinkers back. This horse just ran.
Oh, blinkers.
First time, well, I think
Ran bad
Charlie,
with blinkers and worse with
he ran a
blinkers.
41 with him and a 7 without him. So she's going to go 41 without him and a 7 with him. So Charlie makes the change back. It's Rosario, drops down. I took one dropper, you took the other.
I'm taking the dropper. It's the same kind of dropper that we just showed that beat Maggie T. Ma Mi Jo Dream.
Mommy Joe Dreams.
Well, Rick Schosberg got a big role since he started doing the show.
Here we go.
What? It's true though. It's amazing, right?
It's like the features. Right? We run a feature and the person wins. Now Rick does the show. Maybe we should take out our trainer's license. Maybe we'll start winning races. Hard pass for you?
I'm not getting up that early. Aside from the many other reasons I wouldn't be a trainer, another one is not getting
You're
up that
not
early.
getting up that early. You're
Anyway,
going back to sleep at that
we're
time.
done. No, I'm just sleeping. Head on over to Naira Bets. If you're not a member of Naira Bets, no better time than the present. Use the promo code MATCH200 and we will match the $200 of your initial deposit. We also have a extra pick 4, starts in race number 4.
Quattro.
The middle pick
Quattro.
4. We have a $25 bonus if you bet 75 or more at Laurel, Aqueduct, and Churchill. You must opt in over at Naira Bets. And finally, we're on from 11:30 to 6:30, covering the races from here and Churchill Downs. We're done. You're just getting started. We're going to get out of the Arctic in here and talk to you later. Bye.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.
Hello, racing fans, and once again, welcome to Aqueduct. We have a sunny day here at the Big A. The temperature will get to around 40 degrees. The main track is fast. The turf courses are firm. Portable rail is up on the inner turf at 18 feet, and no portable rail in use on the outer turf. And right now, we'll take a look at today's changes. In the first race, we have a couple of rider changes. Number 3,